you're watching CCP podcasting, and remember, I'm Scouse, not British. Bloody hell, devil in your fart.
What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? Welcome back to Beyond the Bell. I am Chris Page. I have tagged in the sexiest man from the Netherlands. He is just a sexy goth.
Sexy goth.
Good morning, sir. I don't think we've ever filmed this early for me with you.
No,
So
no.
welcome to the early morning club here in the States. How are things going?
Future goth says, good afternoon. I'm doing good. You sent me a message that, are you in for a Sunday afternoon conversation? I was like, yep. We had a show last week when this is going to be aired a little bit earlier on, but about South Africa, and we came across some multi-talented wrestlers, and we got one in for an interview right now, I believe.
Absolutely. The dive into independent wrestling for us over the last 2 years has been nothing short of incredible, and we've been able to not only catch a lot of really good companies that you might not see unless you go out of your way. We've come across a lot of really good talent that are just hidden gems, and you're 100% correct. We stumbled into Africa literally a couple of weeks ago, and had a really good time with the show. Our guest today is actually, I mean, his longevity in the African wrestling scene, it speaks for itself. He's actually training the guys at the African Wrestling Alliance. And truly, I cannot wait to pick his brain a little further. So let's not wait anymore. Let's welcome in our guest today, Johnny Palazzio. And I fucked up your last name, and I knew I did it when I fucking said it. I am so sorry. I will get it. I promise. That is my kryptonite is pronouncing fucking names. Welcome to the show. Sorry, I
Thank you so
botched your
much.
name.
No, thanks so much.
How's life treating you, my man? I appreciate you coming in and taking a few minutes to sit down with us today to discuss all things, not only yourself and your journey, but what's going on in Africa.
Well, I know, like when you mention pro wrestling, Africa's not exactly the first place that might pop up.
No, and you're
No.
right, but it's professional wrestling's fucking everywhere, and
Yeah,
truly, a piece of our down the rabbit hole and why we do it is specifically to find new places, new talent, people we haven't seen before, because again, like I talked a little bit before we went on air, and now there's hidden gems everywhere, all over the world,
100%.
and we stumbled into several that came from Africa, and actually, as we'll talk about a little bit in this conversation, you have a big hand in making sure that these guys are ready to rock and roll and are good to go. So, uh, before we get too deep into the party, we always like to start at the beginning. So, for you, where did your wrestling journey begin, and what made you fall in love with it?
Bret Hart.
What, what's that?
Bret Hart. Had to be Bret Hart. Bret Hart,
Ah,
growing up, I must have been like, I think I was about 11, 12, and I discovered pro wrestling. And then in South Africa, we didn't have access to it as freely as what we would have liked. I mean, I didn't even know this kind of thing existed. And I remember going to a magazine shop here by us, and I just saw these two big, massive guys in tights, and they were like grappling. They were in a referee's hold. And I thought to myself, this is different. And it had big WWF in those days all
Yeah.
across. And I thought to myself, well,
yeah.
let's just grab this and have a look. And I remember paging through the pages, and my mind just went like poof. And next thing you know, one of my friends actually hooked me up with some videos, cassettes in those days, VHS, and just lost my heart. That was that was me.
See, you you just answered a question, and back in my day, like I always joke around, I'm the get off my lawn guy. When I used to judge wrestling fans and people, when I say, "Hey, you like wrestling?" "Oh, of course." I say, "You a Brett or a Sean guy?" And usually the answer to that question, it determines whether or not if I'm going to be cool with you. And you answered that question correctly because I'm a Bret Hart guy too. So it's just hey, I like, oh, you're Bret or Sean? Oh, I like Sean. Oh man, get the fuck out of here, bro. You're not for me. Give me the technician all day, every day. And you're talking a little earlier. You don't think of Africa obviously when you think of professional wrestling. So when you kind of figured out that this is something that you really want to try your hand at, if the scene's not as big and as prominent down there, how did you get started down in Africa? What were your steps to even break in?
Well, it must have been I was about 23 at the time, and I was working in a like a DVD shop.
Hmm.
And I remember it was pretty narrow from where the till was to where the entrance was. And I was bending down. I was just working on the till or something, and all of a sudden the whole room went dark. And I remember looking up, and there was probably the biggest guy you had ever seen. I'm talking at any given time. He probably weighed about 220 kilograms. Just
Wow.
a monster of a man, tall, and he had this long blonde mullet. And I remember looking up, and my brain actually just paused for a second to try and put into perspective the size of this person and the shop itself. And I looked up to him, and he looked up to me, and he smiled. He's like, "Hi, I want to purchase this." And then we just started interacting, and I said, "You are probably one of the biggest people I've ever seen in my life."
Hmm.
And he took out his wallet, and he had a little business card, and it said AWA, and he gave me tickets to go watch the show. And I didn't even know there was professional wrestling in South Africa. And I went to go watch one of the shows. It wasn't bad. And the thing that hooked me at that point was halfway through the show, one of the guys who were performing actually was with me at school, and myself and him had legit beef at school. And I remember, I remember turning to my girlfriend at this point, and she's like, "Yeah, this isn't for me." And I said, "Well, unfortunately, this is now my goal. This is now what I'm going to do." And then she was like, "Well, it's going to be me or you, or myself, or the pro wrestling." And to this day, I still wonder what she's doing. So,
One of the many sacrifices, brother, you just gave it up off rip was a relationship, man, and truly though that is dedication, really. One of the big, and I say that because one of the biggest misconceptions that a lot of the younger generation, or a lot of guys and gals who may be thinking about getting into the business or the industry, are the sacrifices that you have to make. It's not an easy it's not an easy situation. It's not an easy deal. You give up family time. You give up relationships. You give up time with children. There's a lot that a lot of people don't see. But when you make the sacrifices that early, it's kind of impressive because it shows determination and it shows a level of determination at such a young age to me that you're putting everything aside to dive into the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen with this journey. You're betting on yourself.
you know, I didn't really care because at that point it was just I thought to myself, look, if this guy can do it, then I am definitely going to do this. And then like the next week I was at the first training, and he was one of the seniors, and let's just say my journey into this was not as easy as what it could have been.
I mean, sometimes you got to work out some squabbles. It's for sure. And so that was Africa Wrestling Association, right? That company was around back then, and I thought that that's something for us that was Goth, and maybe you can correct me here. I found that to be because I've been talking with one of the owners, obviously, of the AWA over the last couple of weeks, and I wasn't aware that the history is rich. Uh,
Very rich.
with the scene and with the AWA specifically. So you came into the AWA, and this has kind of been your home ever since.
Well, I kind of made it more. They just couldn't get rid of me.
Yeah,
Well,
Gotham.
we are glad that they didn't.
Right,
um,
because there's a large part of what we watched like was a variety of just different things, right? Like I told Goth, it's a
mhm.
smorgasbord, man. Let's find a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let's throw it in a pot and let's see what fucking happens. And to see what we saw there, and knowing that you have a piece of the training, which is where we're gonna get to here in just a second. Before we do, Goth, I want to throw it over to you. What do you have on the top of your head as you've heard a little bit from Johnny?
I'm so glad to hear some stuff that you were saying that relates to me because I think we all are around the same age differences. Because I know remember those magazines and also those videotapes. Um, how is mentioned that you've been in AWA for quite some time now, and how is the comparison to what it was back then to what it is right now? Because when we watched the show, it looked so amazing. It looked so crisp. It looked so production-wise, looked very amazing. How was that back then when you started wrestling compared to what it's now?
Chalk and cheese, completely chalk and cheese. Back then, we entered into a dressing room where we weren't as a brotherhood, and this is something as well that people just on the outside would never understand. A professional wrestling room isn't about superstars and individuals. It's actually one of the biggest team sports you could probably come across.
Mm-hmm.
The camaraderie and the brotherhood that we have in our locker room is something that I've tried to build on the past 10 years. I've been trying to build this. And obviously, we've had to weed out a couple of individuals that just didn't fit in with the other boys. We've had incidents where I've had to chase guys out the locker room. At the end, unfortunately, the greater good is way more important than an individual. And I think that's why our product sometimes does stand out a lot more. Because we all trust each other. We're all brothers. We come from different walks of life, different skin colors, different religions, different beliefs.
Mm.
But I can promise you, each and every one of those guys would die for each other outside of the locker room. And I think that is also, like I said, I do believe that is why we have such a tight product, because we know we can push the boundaries with regards to what we do in the ring, and the person who is receiving understands that this is what is about to happen. It's all stays in the ring. There's never issues outside the ring. We all trust each other. We all understand. We go out there. Everyone plays a specific role in the product. We all understand our roles and our positions in the company. And at the end of the day, I could take as much credit as I like. It's not about me. It's not about Johnny Palazzio. It's about AWA. It's about it all stems from the top. And the owner, Sean Kun, he's the guy that's
Yeah.
instilled respect, honor, and pride into everyone that's walked through those doors, no matter where they've come from or what they've done in life. You could be a movie superstar, you could be a track and field athlete, you could be a rugby star. The point is, the minute you step into our training center, you're on the mats, and no one is better than anyone. I am not more important than someone that's just walked in. And the key to us is we are only as strong as our weakest wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a fact.
They say you got to crawl before you walk, and with the scene
100%.
with the scene that has been building, at least since your tenure when you came in, what have you seen, or what are some of the most positive things that you've seen that maybe help grow your audience? Because what we saw, it seems like you guys have a pretty packed house every show, and like I said, we take a little bit from here and a little bit from here, but every show, not only is your audience packed and your crowd packed, they're invested in what you guys are doing. So
No, for sure.
talk to me a little bit about the earlier days and then growing into where you're at now.
Well, most of the people that come to watch have been invested with the product for a good 20 years. It's grandparents, it's their children, and it's their children, and they are invested in the characters. And people have walked the walk with each and every wrestler. So the minute we come out the curtain, they have got 15, 20, 10 years of walking with this character. I was actually a very, very big villain in the early stages of my career. Probably for the first 10 years of my career, I was a very big villain. And they hated my guts.
No.
No, it was awesome. It was awesome. And
Right.
I had so much heat, it was ridiculous. I had people coming up to me in malls and people phoning Sean to say that he's got to kick me off the bill, off the card, complaining about me. And it was hilarious. And then
That's how you know you won the game, brother. You know.
and one night, I remember Sean was injured and he asked, he wanted to do this big flip, and he came up with this idea of me coming out. Of course, Sean at that point in time was active. He was the GOAT, and he was the John Cena of us. He could do no wrong. He could wrestle villain, and the crowd would cheer him. He was the biggest, hardest babyface in our company. And he got injured one night, and he said I needed to do a run out. And I was like, but this doesn't make sense because I'm a villain. He's like, this is gonna be awesome. And I didn't really think about it. So I was just like, yeah, cool. I'm down for whatever. You tell me what you want, and that's basically me in a nutshell. Um, and I remember running out, saving him, and the crowd went absolutely moggy that the walls were shaking. And ever since that day, I could just never turn back to heel. It's like no matter what I did, no matter what story we tried to pull off, I just couldn't go back to being a heel. I'm just like, it's it's the funniest thing ever. And the boys in the locker room, they're like, you wrestle so villain, but these people love you. And obviously, we use that for the rub on some of the up and comers, where I wrestle some youngsters, just to give them a taste. Because like my heat helps them, it makes their job a lot easier. So they don't have to worry too much about riling up the crowd, or they can just focus on what they need to. So yeah, I mean, we're lucky. We use it as a tool. It's one of the biggest tools we've got. So
That's the biggest, the most compelling stories are the ones that are organic, and the ones that
Yeah.
just kind of happen.
100%.
And they organically accepted you in that moment. But that also is a testament to Sean, just how powerful his character was at the time too.
Absolutely ridiculous. It's that you got fire and ice, and the ice just literally engulfed that ice and just burnt off that ice. It was ridiculous.
I love to hear that. That's again I was always a heel, right? Like that was just my deal. Even to today, like we shoot some stories with some other companies and do some other things here and there, and kind of our bridge in independent wrestling is deep, brother, and it's only getting deeper. And it's so much fun. Even today, we do some stuff where we play the heel or we play the baby face, whatever that the guys need. And I think with you specifically, when I kind of got a feel that you were a little deeper into AWA than just a talent, because keep in mind, when we come in, we watch with zero context. We know
100%.
absolutely nothing, and I like it that way. I don't know about my co-host, but for me to come in and
Me too.
not know shit and be able to get invested in what we're watching it's kind of a testament to the scene and what all of the guys are doing. And we did definitely latch on and get invested in what we were watching. But with you, I kind of realized you were a little deeper. We were watching a handicap tag team match. I forget who the opponents were, but they were young because
Redemption or something.
the
Take
I'm
over.
not sure.
and I think that that's was a really fine point into what you're talking about is with your character work and how the crowd is so behind you. That was a prime example of them not having to do much because you're able to get it done, but they're also getting experience in the process. Like you're a veteran of the fucking game down there, and they are working with you and getting a feel for things. Uh, I say that to say the roster that I've seen thus far is really young. There are a lot of younger talents there, or I could be wrong, or they just look fucking young. If if they're older, they found the fountain of
Well,
youth, brother, and I need it. So you tell me where that fountain's at.
you'll be
Johnny loves
surprised
on
when I
that
see
show
this.
as well. So
Look, we've gone through a very big transition. We've lost quite a few, or quite a few of the seniors have retired and moved on. And luckily for us, we have got a few guys that could step up to the plate and take it from there. Guys like Romeo Valentino, he's been going for
Yeah.
I
Dug
reckon
him.
for about 6, 7 years. I could be wrong, but he stepped up as a villain. There's a lot of youngsters. There's Jay Cooper. There's
Yep.
Vanna the Wolf. We've got such talent. And I look at these boys, and when they perform and when they train, I just sit back and I think to myself, you know, the reason why I still do what I do is because if I can use myself as a tool to give them a platform somehow where they can express what they do and how blessed they are with this amazing talent, I will definitely keep going. We've got this joke running in the locker room where the past probably about 8 years I've been saying I'm going to retire. I'm going to call it a day, and everyone just brushes it off. They're like, "Yeah, we know you're going to die in that ring." So if I can use whatever I've got to try and help my guys and my team, then that's exactly what I'm willing to do. Um, 45 years old, been doing it for about 23 years. It's taken a toll. Yeah, it's taken a toll, but I always tell myself when I sit backstage and I watch them wrestle, and I think to myself, okay, this is what it's going to feel like retired. Just don't know if I
It's
can do it.
n- I get it. Listen. I've been out for 20 years, and I really and truly through the platform that we've built has really kind of lit the fire a little bit. And am uh, getting back in better shape. I've talked to a couple of companies. What's so fucking wild to me is, like I said, I'm just a guy on the internet that watches anywhere between 14 to 20 hours independent wrestling a week, right? Like that.
Yeah,
That's it. That's
but but you have stepped through the ropes,
oh, I have.
which does give you credit. Where maybe some other people that are doing the same kind of um, talk show, or
I
blogs or whatever the case is. They're talking from a different point of view. And sometimes when I watch this stuff, it gets to me because they don't their opinions really don't hold as much water as what someone's opinion is, that when they've actually stepped through the ropes and taken bumps and put their body on the line.
mm-hmm.
So immediately when I heard that you had done this, I thought to myself, well, there we go. This is now my interest is peaked on 100% the respect levels. No disrespect to Gothic. I don't know if you've wrestled or whatever the case is, but
I've never wrestled before. Like
That's
I
just
said, I'm
it.
from the
There,
Netherlands.
one.
No, but what I do like about the whole fact is that I'm sitting here, I'm watching this, whatever is being put in front of me, and I'm listening to what Paige is saying, or what Devlin Knight is also somebody who's been into the ring for a hot minute. Uh, we have John Cable, who's been a wrestler, somebody else who's currently still a wrestler, I believe. And I soak it in, and I like to see things in a different perspective than besides being a big fan, because I've always been a big fan of wrestling since I was young,
yes,
and I respect what people are putting themselves through, because I also look at lots of documents behind the scenes. I mean, the Bret Hart document, when with the whole
Wrestling with
Montreal screw job.
shadows, baby. Wrestling with
Yeah,
shadows.
Jake the Snake Roberts for a couple of instances, and that gives me another perspective about the whole wrestling. That it's not just glamour, and it's not just, oh, look at me, I'm got a lot of fans cheering me or booing me, and I'm picking up my paycheck and stuff like that. So I get the whole thing, and it makes me appreciate wrestling even more, even though I've never been in the ring. And yeah,
It is a feeling like no other. It is a drug and a high that you'll be chasing your entire life. Now the thing is yes, we do have I have a lot of co-hosts. Like the thing I guess with our platform is I was able to find a lot of like-minded guys, right? Like I've got a couple of guys who've never been in the ring before. And I got a couple of guys like one of my best
like me.
friends who was in the ring same time period I was, right? And hasn't, it's been out of it just as long as I have. And what I was getting to a minute ago is I'm getting back into shape. I found that there's a company that wants me to come and do work with them, and I was like, wait, hold on, it's because of a show like that. It's just so wild how the wrestling continues to give, whether you're active or you're not, and our platform has never been about notoriety. Nobody on my platform gives a shit about being famous. We don't care about that. Like it's nothing to do with that. As a matter of fact, all the money we make off of our channels goes right back into the professional wrestling. Goes right back into the independent scene. Whether we send it to a company, whether we send it to guys that are hurt, have GoFundMe's out, whatever, wherever it goes, it doesn't. We don't care. We're as long as we're able to help the business move forward and the industry move forward. And if that's looking at somebody's work that here in the States, right? Like maybe you can help me with this comparison because you're in Africa, right? And I say this because like with Australia and even the UK and even in Germany, we get guys that are just thankful that we're covering them because we're in the States. Is it looked at is the States looked at as the place to be, like in the scene at all? Because my opinion's different. I know that the big companies are here, but the better talent is all out there on the independent scene if you go out there and you find them.
Well, it's probably you 100% correct. Look, there's talent all over, just exactly the way you put it. But I think America would be the place to be simply because the platform is there, the big companies are there, and you look at some of these guys on these smaller companies and the indies and whatever, and you think to yourself, this type of person could blow one of the big talents right out the water that's doing pay-per-views for WWE or AEW or TNA or whatever the case is. So yeah, look, from our point of view, we definitely look at America and we try and base not I wouldn't say base our product, but we try to base the production value that we put out there as close as possible to what we can call a product that we could maybe post or send up to America and say, this is what we do. And you compare it to like a TNA or AEW or something to that effect. So yeah, I would definitely say that the biggest companies are in America, and we all look to America as the benchmark. Because you got to call it what it is. It is the benchmark with regards to production value. Maybe not talent, but production value.
Well, America's looking back at you guys now, at least through
Yeah.
the lens of my channel. And truthfully, like I said, we develop relationships with everybody all over the world. If America is somewhere like you guys are trying to get to, even if you're trying to make a trip out, I'll tell you this, and I mean this wholeheartedly, and this goes for anybody that we've ever looked at or has bothered to give us time to sit down and pick your brains. We have connections here in the States as well as internationally. If you're doing any kind of tours, man, you just need to hit me up. I will put you in touch with people. And that, whatever you guys make out of it's what you make out of it. It's just a piece of what I like to do for you guys. And I know that when you talk about touring internationally, a lot of people are like, man, it's a lot to do, and it's a lot to think about. Has that been something that you've done before in your career, or are you strictly in South Africa?
So I know Sean has traveled the world. He's been to Germany. He's wrestled Undertaker before Undertaker was Undertaker. He's wrestled.
Whoa.
Yeah, he wrestled Davey Boy Smith here in South Africa. He's wrestled. So he's wrestled quite a few of the bigger names before they were like the bigger names. You got to remember, like when it was still before it was like marketed the way it is now. So I always said Sean is one of the best wrestlers never to get noticed, put it to you that way. I mean, he could have killed it in America. I mean, he could literally jump as high as my head for a big guy like that. He was doing insecurities and top rope elbow drops and stuff like that. Like he just made everything look so easy, and he had the look and the presence, and it just made it look easy. We've got here's actually a true story. I had a hand in training David Finley Jr. He came to
Really?
South Africa. What an amazing kid! He came here to South Africa as a missionary, and he came to our fair, and he was part of the team, and trained with us, and now he's he's killing it.
Yep.
Um, yeah, a couple of my guys have been overseas. They've wrestled. Mike Zanders actually, he did a stint, I think maybe for
Great
about 8
talent.
months, 10 months. Yeah, up in Florida with JB Cool and those guys. And we've had Adam Rose from WWE,
Mm-hmm.
the Rosebud.
Yeah.
He was in our business. He actually was part of our federation. Um, Also, a good friend of mine. And then a funny story. We had pre-COVID, we had a guy jump on board with us, like an investor, who saw us, loved our product, and wanted to invest. So he invested, and his dream was to bring talent from America down to wrestle our guys. And he managed to bring down Tarver from Nexus,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Tarver.
Mm-hmm.
He managed to bring down Wes Briscoe
Mm-hmm.
and Amber Nova. There was also another person who was supposed to come down, but they couldn't make it, so we had a bit of an issue with that. But they they came to South Africa, and I know this. They didn't know what to expect. I think they thought, there's lions and stuff running out in the middle of the streets and whatever the case is, and we all lived in mud huts and whatever. And they came to the arena and they met all the guys, and I know they were a little bit apprehensive. You could feel it, obviously. And Wes was pretty chilled. Myself and him, we worked. We worked our match. He literally jumped off the plane. I met him for about an hour, and then we had to get to work. The show literally started, and we needed to get going. So there wasn't a lot of time to talk and work out whatever we wanted to work out. So myself and him we both agreed to just go with it. And afterwards, he came to me and he shook my hand and he said to me that was one of the best matches he's had. And I said, thank you very much, because he was nice and stiff, the way we like it down here in Cape Town.
Mm-hmm.
And he went onto his podcast, and he also just had the most amazing things to say about a federation. Amber Nova is an amazing talent, and I believe she's an amazing talent. And she just hit it off with all our guys, and she had to wrestle 2 guys while she was down here, because the other talent we brought down couldn't make it. So yeah, it was a learning curve for some of the guys to mix with these names, and listening to Michael Tarver about all the experiences he had with John Cena and Randy Orton, and these guys were just they were living our dream.
Right.
So yeah, so to hear it firsthand. And we obviously picked up a couple of things that they showed us with regards to pulling punches and whatever. So it was an amazing networking of talent, and I wish we could do that very soon. We are busy with a very big project currently. We've got a couple of good people behind us. We've got a very good production team. We're waiting for a few sponsors to give the yes, and hopefully we could reconnect with our American brothers and sisters and bring them down or take us up or whatever the case is again in the near future. So my biggest thing that I took away from that was I always wanted to test myself against what I considered to be the benchmark of professional wrestling, and that was someone from America who does this day in and day out, and this is their job. So all the boys here in South Africa work jobs. We all got jobs. We don't do this for a living. We can't do this for a living. We literally meet twice a week for 2 hours. We don't really have the facility to plan matches and work through matches from morning to night. We literally get to the venue. Okay, who's here? Who's available? This is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to work. Blah blah blah. So we're very hard in what we do and how we work. But the one thing that I took away from working someone from a different country was I wanted to test myself against the benchmark. Am I as good as what I thought I was? Because that would be the way I could test it. And Wes Briscoe actually put that all my fears to rest, and he said, no, that was one of the best matches he's had, and our talent can stand toe to toe with anyone outside of our country. And to me, that was the biggest compliment. It's not about myself; it's about my guys. And if someone from the benchmark land is telling me my talent can stand toe to toe with anyone, then I mean that's all I ever wanted to hear, basically.
That's amazing to hear. Sorry if I interrupt.
No,
It's just what you're saying, and it's something that I said about when me and Paige watched down the rabbit hole about Brazilian Wrestling Federation. It's a company who's been active for nearly 25 years in Brazil, and production-wise, that's a company that I could compare to like a TNA from way there back then, but also currently now. And they've got talent over there that's like they could easily go toe to toe with anybody else in all over the world. Not just America, but anybody else. And some of them even competed in England for one of the promotions over there. And I feel the same way about South Africa. I'm back with the old BWF, Brazilian Wrestling Federation. I said, people are overlooking that market over there. And I got the same feeling with South Africa because I had no expectations what going to see, and what we saw was amazing, and we saw great talent, and we feel that
thank you.
companies like from America, but also like a New Japan or something like
Yeah,
that, could easily do business with organizations like the AWA in South Africa or Brazilian Wrestling Federation in Brazil and stuff like that. And that's a compliment to you, especially what you're saying that you're training twice a week, 2 hours at a time. That's dedication, and that's the drive to get better. And I compliment all of you for putting on great shows like that.
thank you very much.
I
I
I
would take that to the bank.
I think like with me when I'm watching stuff, like I can tell when when guys are like they care, right? Like you can tell who's going through the motions and who's gives a shit is what I like to call it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that was a takeaway that I did get from the AWA is everybody gave a shit. And then I say that because we circle back around. You talked about how it's a team mentality. Everybody kind of knows their job. Everybody knows their role. This is where we're trying to go. We're all a part of we're a cog on a wheel, and we're all constantly moving
exactly.
forward. Uh, with you guys, you mentioned something a minute ago, and this is what I love about having an organic conversation. Again, we script nothing. We don't have questions when we
Right.
come in. It's literally we sit down and we just have a conversation. You're talking
Yeah,
about we were talking about being organic earlier and putting together matches and shit like that. Has that been something that has changed a little bit with over the course of time? Again, I've been out for 20 years. I never was a guy that would go through and plan my matches. I'm a big proponent of or being organic, and it's in everything that I do, from these shows to work. It's like I'm completely my real job. I am completely an organic guy. I could
yeah,
never go through and plan a match and be like, all right, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, I gotta listen to the crowd. I gotta they're the judge and they're gonna tell me if what we're doing is working. How has that changed over the last 20 years? And what's that look like for you? Because I would imagine if you're a 20-year vet, you probably weren't putting together matches spot for spot, move for move 20 years ago like I wasn't. So like, what's that look like, and how has that changed?
Oh, AWA has got a slogan, and like our slogan is, if it ain't AWA, it ain't real.
Okay.
And that comes from Sean Quinn, our owner, and he, you know, the head of the household. Whatever he says goes. I've never, in the 24 years I've been with him, we've had one argument, and it was where he wanted me to go over and I wanted to go down.
It's a good argument to
And
have.
it was a 3 month argument where, okay, just a little bit of context. No. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that's the only time we've ever really had an argument. So planning of matches, we have become, simply because of our production team, we've become a little bit more structured. I'm going to call it structured. The past 2 years since they've been on board with us. So we haven't sat and planned spot for spot and step by step. We could never do that. I could myself, from day one, I could never do that. I came up in a locker room that never did it. Um, I've been into other locker rooms that try and do it. I throw my hands up. I have to apologize. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. There is no ways I'll be able to remember where I need to be at 0.52 seconds in the match. It's just impossible for me. I train my boys that way. We do 75% everything on the fly. Yes, there is structure. We've got about, I would say, maybe a little bit more. 30% of the match we know, okay, this is the structure, this is the angle, this is the story, this is where this needs to happen, maybe blah, blah, blah. But with regards to spot planning, it just, for us, we don't have the time, and we don't have the guys will tell you straight. You can ask anyone. I mean, they just like, dude, there's no way I'm going to be able to remember all of this. We are just going to go for it, and we're just going to go out there, and we are just going to do what we need to do. I'm a good guy, you're a bad guy, or we're two bad guys, or we're two good guys. This is the story. They'll pull me in and they'll ask me, listen, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, you're a big guy, you're a small guy, you're a good guy, you're a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. This is all elements that we use to tell a story. And at the end of the day, what are these people coming to watch? They're coming to watch a story. They're not coming to watch two guys exhibit moves. They're not coming to watch two guys beat the living hell out of each other. They're coming to watch a story where they are invested in two characters, three characters, four characters, whoever. Even our referees have investment from the crowds, so they know we are. We need to get the crowd invested. We've got to tell the story, which is the most important thing, because that's what these people are paying for. And when your match is done, the story needs to be told. That's the way it works. The crowd needed to be invested. They got to be satisfied with the story when you are done telling it, using your match. So there's a lot of elements that I try and teach them with regards to building a match. But yeah, I mean, I don't need to tell you guys. You guys know exactly
I know, yeah,
what I'm talking about.
it sounds fantastic to know that storytelling is the bigger piece of the picture there versus
Oh, 100%.
piecing and putting together stuff. I just could never do it. I had a couple of guys back in my day. Oh, I want to do this, and then I'm gonna go to the top rope, and I'm gonna do that. I'm like, no, the fuck, you're not. Calm down. Like that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna calm the fuck down, and you're gonna listen. Like I how sorry that came across the way it did. That's just how I was. That's how I was brought
You
up.
sound like
And,
me. You sound like me, brother. You
uh,
sound like me.
you listen. You had your moment when you realized when like Wes Briscoe told you that you listen. You got it. You.
Yeah.
My moment was with Rock and Roll Express in like 1999, 2000. So like it was late Rock and Roll Express, but when Ricky Morton and you work with Ricky for 3 months and on a 3 month loop, and he comes around and he's like, brother, you're good. I don't need to hear anything else. Like the greatest seller of all fucking time has just told you that you're okay. Thank you. Then that's when I get a that's when I get a that's when I got a little cocky. Like, no, you shut up and listen. Like because there's levels to this, and if you
Yes.
really with the crowd that you guys got, and they're already fucking invested, it makes it that much easier just to
Oh, 100%.
100% tell the story. You don't have to go out of your way and do something stupid to get them invested because they're already fucking there. You enhance what you've got, and it seems to be a recipe for success there.
Well, thank you. I mean, you asked me earlier what's the biggest change I've seen. Thinking about that question, I would have to say is the fact that we have completely moved away from hardcore matches. we just don't need to do it anymore. We used to do thumbtacks and tables and
Save that
you
for an
know,
attraction. Save that for something.
we
Yeah.
we don't do that anymore. We don't need to do it anymore. I mean, we it's all about the story, and at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. So
Well, where do you see the AWA moving forward? You talked about how earlier it's kind of like a changing of the guard, where you guys have lost a lot of the veterans, if you will, who have retired or moved forward, and you are the roster does look really young, and to me is a really good sign because if you've got these guys and some of these are in their early 20s, and I even again going back to the show that we saw. We found out that your son it was involved in the battle royal. So like you already second generation coming in, behind you.
my daughter
How
as well.
your
Yeah.
daughter as well. How do you guys
Awesome.
transition that into the younger generation? Like, do you think that some of your older crowd, like your old heads that have been following for decades, like does it run through your head that maybe we might lose them because we're losing some of their favorites, or do is it one of these situations that's like we got to make this move regardless, or we're not going to have a fucking product. We're going to get these guys over the best way we can and hope that you guys come back and show us the love that you've shown for so long. What's that look like for you guys?
That's a very good question. You know, the crowd they've got certain major favorites and people that they come to watch. And like I said, like taking myself for an example, I try and use whatever heat I've got or whatever rub I have. I try and give that to argument's sake. Let's just take the takeover. The two youngsters that I worked.
Yeah.
Now going forward, people actually come to watch them. They want to see what these two youngsters are going to do next.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually helped them going forward. The same thing with Romeo Valentino. He was a little bit stagnant. We didn't really know where we should go with him. We knew he was going to be a villain. We just didn't know how we were going to get there. So I suggested, let me do a run with him. We'll do a bit of a feud, have a couple of good matches. Hopefully something kicks in and a spark ignites with him, and we can see maybe going forward he can take the reins. And he just went with it. Everything just worked so well. Myself and him had such good chemistry. Well, I trained him, so it's easy for me to have chemistry with him. The problem is if they were going to have the chemistry with me, because a lot of times they climb in the ring with me and like, oh, I don't want to hurt Uncle JP. You know what I mean? So they got to get that right.
That's where that comes in.
You you need to hurt Uncle JP. so because they, I'm not always just a trainer. I'm sometimes a father figure. They come to me with problems outside of the ring. They'll phone me. Sometimes their fathers aren't as active in their lifestyle as what should be, and they looked to me as like a father figure. The same way we all looked to Sean and still do as a father figure. I still console with Sean. He's very active in my private life, my children's lives. He's a father figure to me. Get a little emotional. Sorry,
No,
but yeah.
it's
Uh,
you never. This is just the thing. Like you don't ever know how you can affect someone's life every day. And
no,
for you to be
100%.
in a position to be such an influence on so many other younger generations, like that is a testament to your character, right? Like, because they're just not going to come to you if you're
No,
not, you know what
for
I
sure.
mean? So it tells me, hearing this, it tells me that you're doing it right. You've been doing it right.
Well, we tried. We
These
tried to. So
these guys, you spend a lot of time with them, and for all of them to kind of come to you like it's like it's like the Lion King, right? I hate to draw it down to a Disney reference, but you had the king, who's Sean, who had Simba, who is you, and now you know what I mean. It's like the circle of life, And
Funny thing that you said that, because Sean is actually the Lion of Africa. That's his moniker.
oh, is it?
Amazing.
I mean,
Serious.
You've been Googling, Paige. Admit
it's
it.
just the circle of life, man. It's like our channel doesn't grow if we don't come across different companies and different talents and different things. It's just so weird how things connect in different ways if you allow them to. Like one of the sayings on our channel is professional wrestling brings people together if you allow it. It does.
100%.
You
Yeah.
eliminate the tribalism, you eliminate the bullshit, you eliminate the dumb shit, and you see it for what it is. It is professional wrestling. It is an art. It is guys and girls getting out there and putting their bodies on the line to entertain us. And like that's something today modernly that I just can't get into. Here's an example. I saw someone bragging about AJ Francis blocking them on Twitter. And I went, dude, what did like I don't get into that piece of it. It's not a friend of mine. I just randomly saw it, and I was like, "Is this are you celebrating the fact that someone blocked you
I
on
see that a lot.
like
I see that a lot.
that's nothing to celebrate, dude. Like that's
Yeah,
also what's wrong with our business
I'm
today.
definitely, I'm definitely a dinosaur when it comes to today's culture. And I think sometimes it's better that way. I try not to get too uh, up there in the knowledge of knowing exactly what's cooking with, internet trolls and people blocking people. And, if
I,
you're happy with that, then great. You go for it, man. Just
it's
whatever, dude.
not my deal. Not my thing. I hate social media. I feel it's the bane of all existence. It's a necessary evil,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it also kind of destroyed pro wrestling in a way. But, the marks and, yeah, killing kayfabe and, it just, we had to roll with it, but once the magic was lost, I think a big piece of it was lost as well. The wrestlers themselves were getting too. If you look on X and well Twitter and you see how some people react to comments, you think to yourself, 15 years ago you never knew about that. You wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd be happy with what you just saw. You'd be over the moon with the match you just witnessed. But
Mm-hmm.
because now that has been let out the bag, you have an opinion
Yep. The
and you don't
keyboard
deserve one.
keyboard warriors, baby. Keyboard warriors. I'd say.
Climb through the ropes, then you can open your mouth.
uh,
But that point, if you don't, then just shut up. Just shut up. Just
yeah.
just keep your mouth quiet. Just please. It's like
Uh,
me watching a 100-meter sprint and then saying, "Oh, what that guy doesn't know what he's doing. That guy's useless."
I wouldn't
So I
fucking know.
put my old ass in a 100-meter sprint. It'll take me 2 days to complete the 100-meter sprint.
And then
So
it'll take me another 2 weeks to recover from it, just so we're clear.
exactly
So
100%. I'd still be running
I
next week.
I probably will need 5 lanes to get to the next point. I'll just trip everybody over and stuff like that.
well,
So
well,
I
it's
won't
okay.
say
Eddie
anything.
Guerrero.
You can't
You do
sue
that
Doc.
Eddie Guerrero. You do the Eddie Guerrero where he ties everyone's shoelaces together, and then guys shoot and boom, and they all fall over.
I lie, I cheat, I steal.
You speak of Eddie Guerrero, and that brings up ribs to me for some reason because I love a good rib in the ring. Was there anything over the course of your tenure, any kind of ribs that you're able
Oh,
to
here we go.
tell? I can
Here we
start.
go.
I can start. I just so to break the ice. I was a tassel guy. So if you got in the ring with me and you had tassels on, you were losing one and from a different location, but it was just one. You were just losing one. So if someone worked with me for 2 weeks, they would, arm tassels. They, man, I'm losing my tassels, bro. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Bro, I can't tell you. I don't know. After we finish our loop, I'd give them their tassels. Here's all your tassels, bro. So I was a tassel guy. What kind of ribs did you like to do, or have you done, or anything that you're comfortable with talking
I feel terrible. One of my very good friends to this day. He's also active. He's current AWA champion. He's Mr. Money. So he actually broke my leg. He's the one that broke my leg. We did a match. This is a long-winded story, but myself and him had been very, very close. Probably for about 13 years up in that point. Chucked me over the top rope, landed wrong, snapped my leg. That was 2 minutes into the match, and me being the hard ass, not going to quit, I continued for like another 20 minutes to finish the match. By saying that, that's the night I met my wife. She was sitting in the front row, and I landed right in front of her, and she was the biggest Mr. Money fan. And while I was lying on the floor, holding my leg, he was hitting me with a chair because he hadn't known that he broke my leg, and she's screaming, saying, "Hit him again! Hit him again!" And we look back at it now, and it's obviously a story we tell the kids, and it's just one of those stories that. But that's the kind of relationship myself and Mr. Money had, and he felt terrible. I was laid up in hospital for a week afterwards, and he messaged me every 2 minutes, and can I get you this? And I said, no, McLean, we love each other. We've got such a brotherly love. So I'll go back into the active scene, and myself and him did another feud run, and he had the title at that point, and it was my turn to go over. So it was my turn to win the title, and I said to him, "Listen, before the match, let's just go out there, grab a mic, we just get it a little bit spicy or whatever the case is, and then we take it from there." He was like, "Cool, no boys," and the match happened. So I did my entrance because I was the contender, and he did his entrance afterwards because he was the title holder. And now bear in mind, like I was going over, and everyone knew this. Myself knew it, he knew it, so everyone was on the same page. So we climb into the ring. He grabs his mic, and I grab my mic, and I'm the villain. And I'm like, you know what, you don't deserve that title, and you think you got what it takes to stand toe to toe with the best, Johnny Palazzio, blah blah blah. And he grabs the mic and he says, yeah, being the big baby face, he did his baby face angle, and then I said, you are confident in who you are, and he says yes. I said, well, I challenge you. If you beat me this match, the loser has to wear a dress to the next match. And I remember his whole face dropped. His whole face dropped. And he looked at me and
Well
he
played.
was like, what did you just do? And he grabbed the mic and he looked at me dead-eyed and he was like, challenge accepted. And he put the mic down and he didn't break eye contact with me. And obviously, the match starts and the bell rings and I'm walking around. I can feel the daggers in the back of my head. And the first lockup, all I heard was, you're such a bitch. You really didn't have to do that. The dress. Dress.
Love it.
Big up. The next match, dude wore a dress. He wore a dress.
That is fucking priceless. I love that story.
Terrible. I know it's terrible, but I just couldn't help myself. I just had to.
That's checkmate. That's what that is. That's like you just put him against the
I could
wall.
sit here till tomorrow telling you
We
guys
need
stuff
to
like
find
that.
that match, Paige. We need to find that match.
Is it chronicled? I need to see that.
It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Where do you want to see, the scene in South Africa? Yeah, I'm sorry, I just took us right back to a serious question after fucking around.
Oh,
Where
it's
do
awesome. I
you
like that.
where do you want to see the scene get to? Like, and if you had your own 5-year plan for, Africa for the AWA, like, where would you like to see it go in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, where do you think you're headed? And what, and I do have another question that I do want to follow that up with that is unrelated, but remind me.
Well, when I started training, I was very blessed to have been part of a production that AAA did where we were on a national broadcaster. So we were on TV, and it was amazing. It was life-changing. I was very, very young into the game. I was very lucky to be a part of it. And we did that for about 8 months. We were on a national broadcaster. And if looking back now, if I had the talent I have now on the show back then, we would still be on the national broadcaster. But that's exactly where I would like to see us in the next 5 years, on a platform where I can display the talent that my boys have. Not even me. I don't care if I'm not on it. I just would like to display the talent that my locker room has, and that's exactly where I would like us to be. And it's very possible. We're busy with a very good strategy. We've got a very good team who's working with us. We've got we've sat down and we've said, okay, look, your strong point is this, your strong point is that. I don't really want to delve into the whole marketing side of things. I'm handling the boys. We've got Sean that's handling a little bit of everything. He's very into the bookings. And then luckily we've got his son on board, Danian. I think you guys have chatted to Danian.
Mhm.
Danian is handling the marketing. We've also got Chris, the manager of the big Congo guy, the little guy that runs around in a little suit. He also helps and handles marketing, and then we've got my wife who helps with production on the day of the shows. But we all sit down, we put our heads together, and we all got a job to try and do. We've got two other guys, Mark and Charlie, behind the scene who does the production side of things, and we've got a plan, we've got a strategy, we are going forward, and hopefully in the next 5 years, you guys will be in Cape Town watching us somehow.
Oh, don't tease me with a
We
good
would love
time.
to.
I'm getting my passport ready. I've already got to go.
Oh,
I've got to go to Australia and the UK. We
We're
started
planning a world tour.
when we
oh,
started.
there we go, baby.
There's just so this is how wild independent wrestling is and how wild professional wrestling can be. When we started, we just randomly one night I found a show in Australia. I don't know how it populated on my algorithm. We threw it on a live stream and we got a really good response. It was insane. So that we took that and then turned it into something on Thursday nights too, where we start looking at just random independent wrestlers that we've never heard of. 2 hours of your shit. We'll watch it. We'll sit down and take a peek
Yeah,
and put shows together. And it's turned into so much. It turned into, well, I say we started in Australia. That fed, we branched off of that. And like I ended up knowing everything about Australian wrestling. I can tell you just about every prominent indie in Australia and I can tell you what's going on. And moved into the UK. And then we hooked up with Progress and we hooked up with North and we hooked up with all the prominent feds, minus RevPro. RevPro doesn't like me. It's okay. I'm not for everybody. I understand. Uh,
yeah. You don't lose any sleep at night.
I don't at all. But it then transitioned into Portugal. You see how this thing, like, it's so wild that we are seen by somebody on every fucking continent every week. And I, for the life of me, cannot understand or fathom why. And I say that to say I think it's because we take things and we look at for what it is, right? And see the
Yeah,
positive things that are going on. And I do really see a lot of really good things happening in the African scene. And I'm pleased that we came across the AWA because it kind of takes me to my next question. With all of the team that's attached to the company itself, you just ran the list. You kind of just gave us the whole names of the guys who are doing what where. How does that make you guys feel to know that regardless of what you do in the ring, period, moving forward, you could end today, you could stop today, but you're still having a direct influence on where your country can take things as far as the wrestling scene is concerned, from training the talent, getting them ready, passing on the knowledge and experience that you have gotten over the last 24 years, and then some, as well as mixing that in with everyone else who has had their hands in the pie of creating this company and turning it into what it is today. Your ripple effect, if you will, is going to be felt for decades to come. That's not a win. I don't know what the fuck is. How does that make you feel? Have you looked at something from that perspective or looked at it from that lens?
Oof, that's a pretty deep question there.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, no.
No, you're not.
Um, no, you're not. No, you're not. I think I kind of asked Sean the same kind of question, because he had been involved for like 40 odd years and he'd seen the world and he'd trained 1,000,001 guys and, he'd done it all. He won it all. He'd been everywhere. Um, and when he was forced to retire because he had a neck injury, so he was robbed of that whole great send off, which he so rightly deserved. He needed a last match. He deserved that. But unfortunately, he just never had that. And I asked him, and I mean, like, he runs his butt off during the show. He's like a go-to guy. He's got to keep everyone kind of, in check. I keep the wrestling going, and then we've got someone handling the production, but we need that marriage between the two. So he's that guy. So and I pulled him aside and I said to him, like, don't you miss this whole climbing in the ring and doing that? Don't you just miss being the big bully that you used to be? Because he was a bully. Um, and you know, you guys talk about organic and whatever, but you know, pro wrestling is real and life is fake, and that's the truth. Um, and he just said, seeing what these guys are doing, it just, and I can vouch for what he said. When I train these guys and I see the things that they do and the matches that they produce and the stories that they tell, it's more glorifying than winning any title. I could win, like even now, recently I just won the title, the heavyweight title. It didn't do anything for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. It didn't. It didn't. I didn't sit at night holding it and you know looking at it and thinking to myself, oh, I've achieved. The sad part is it didn't do anything for me. Um, but with regards to storyline, that's a different aspect. But personally and out of the ring, it did nothing for me, personally. But seeing these guys do what they do and produce the type of matches that they do means more to me than any title win. And I actually forget the things that I have achieved watching these guys do what they do, knowing that you know that spot right there is something that I've helped them with, or I've helped that guy do that move, or whatever the case is. Um, so right there through the lens is exactly the way that Sean has seen it, and it's exactly the way that I see it. I could hang up my boots. Well, I don't know if I could hang up my boots, but um, if I had to hang up my boots and I would watch these guys, I probably would forget everything that I've won and everything that I've achieved, um, knowing that these guys are doing what they're doing, and seeing my son in the ring opposite me was probably something that I will. That right there just took away. That was my title win of title wins. That meant more to me than absolutely anything else in the entire world. You know, that was just something very, very special.
Well, you see, I totally feel what you're saying right there. Like I was never about championships for me when I was in there, and even like when I look at shit that we do now, the gratification that I think that I get as a content creator, if you will, if that's what you want to call us, podcast. I don't care. I don't live under a fucking I don't live in a box with names. My gratification as a channel is if I can introduce anybody that we look at to one person, just one of our audience, and one person follows. If they like, they subscribe, they follow the social media. That's a win to me, the whole way around.
Yeah,
And I get the gratification of knowing that not only am I discovering new work myself, right? I'm being able to introduce it to people on streams who may not ever come across the work at all, and they're watching it with us, they're experiencing it with us, they're having a good time, they're finding new people that they may never see and may never, because again, if actually I give golf the credit for coming across the Africa show, the AWA, because
And the sad reality is that the two of you have probably done more for pro wrestling than guys like Triple H or whatever the case is, because I mean they're not out there trying to build.
Suck it, Triple H.
But more my reasoning is they're not out there trying to build pro wrestling. They're out there trying to build a brand. And you guys are out there trying to build pro wrestling. And without pro wrestling there is no brand. So if you get what I'm trying to say, you understand, you know.
Oh, 100%.
Since we did this platform, it's just like I got something. The circle is full now, and I finally got little spot in the whole wrestling world, and just pulling out federations. And sometimes it's a diamond in the rough, and sometimes it's just you have to sit through a show. Not that it's terrible, but compared to another show, it was better. But I get gratification just seeing people busting their asses off every single week or every single day to entertain the crowd, and that's what I get getting my high off. So yeah, I'm just glad I'm being part of it.
Well, much respect from guys that are grafting the butts off. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let me ask you this, and I ask everybody that comes on the show this question, and I will give you the answers to why I asked the question after you give me your answer. I do want to preface this. If anyone, if you're watching this, if you've made it this far into our video on YouTube, first of all, hit the fucking subscribe button, because the whole reason we're doing this is because several of you said we would never hit 1,000 on independent wrestling, and I'm gonna do it in under 2 years. Fuck off.
820.
Yeah, we're right there. We're on the cusp. But it's put you on the spot, and I know that you're gonna have to think. And if you do, it's great. It's what editing's for. Don't worry about it. If you could give me, 5 or 6 people, could be in your neck of the woods, could be internationally on the scene right now. If you could give me 5 or 6 people, could be tag teams, men, women, don't care. Uh, who would they be, and why should I be watching them? And I'll tell you why I asked that question as soon as you give me the answer.
Okay, well, let me just preface the answer.
Sure.
I'm probably the worst person when it comes to wrestling. Like, I don't watch any wrestling. I don't. The guys that I train, they call me the wrestling dinosaur because I just have no interest. They show me stuff, and I'm just like, that is like, it just doesn't work. And then they have to sit and I tell them, now I want you to think about what I just said, analyze why this doesn't work, even though you just said to me you like what this guy just did. And then they like sit back and they're like, it's too much of an assisted move. It's too fantastical. It's too this or whatever. And I said, exactly. That's why I struggle to watch this stuff nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 or 6 people, do they have to be current? Can they
No,
be in the
it could be.
past?
It
Or
could be in the
just
past.
people?
It could be in. It could be. There's no blanket. It could be people from the past.
So,
It
so
could be.
5 top. Are you asking me 5 of the top wrestlers that I would consider?
Sure, sure. That you would.
Okay.
That you
Well,
would.
obviously, right off the bat, we're gonna go with Bret Hart.
Well, sure.
Right off the bat,
That's
that's the number one. I'm sorry,
always is. It's not.
it
It's not
is.
for debate.
Yeah. Number 2 would be Goldust. Dustin. I don't know why. He's just always been someone that I've looked to, and I thought to myself, he's been one of the most underrated wrestlers or workers for so long. He's dedicated his heart, his soul. He's had his ups and downs and his issues and whatever, but I've just always had so much respect for that guy. They gave him a gimmick that in those times was just something that we couldn't get our heads around. With Marlena when he first came out as Goldust, and I thought to myself, the guy's running with it. That stuff he did with Booker T was off the wall. It was unbelievably funny.
Made
So yeah, I would have
Goldust
said
work, baby. He made a fucking mountain out of that and did such a tremendous job. I feel like that was almost like a F you to the establishment. You're gonna try and hinder me.
I think that was in a way. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was in a way. So yeah, I like the stuff that he did. We're sitting with Dean Malenko, who I always thought was one of the most technical wrestlers out there. You can't ever have a top 5 list without Eddie, Angle, and the name we shall not mention, Benoit. Those three are, the most unbelievable workers for a number of reasons. And there was another guy who I can't get to his name right now. I'm terrible with names. He wore all white, had white bleached long hair, bleached beard. He came out with
Mordecai.
a suit. Yes,
Mordecai.
sir.
Oh
Mordecai.
Mordecai.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
The
Mordecai.
yin to
Yeah.
the takers yang. The yin to the takers yang. I watched that dude made his debut, and when he came out and when he wrestled, I thought to myself, this right here is going to knock the socks off anyone on that roster. He
Yeah.
was unbelievable. He had the size, he had the look, he had the gimmick. It was just everything. It was the total freaking package. And I hit him up on Twitter and I said to him, sir, this is very weird, but I just think that you're one of the greatest characters and stories to ever come out of WWE that they just killed. And he hit me back and he was like, thanks very much. We just started chatting, whatever the case is. What an awesome dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry that it's a very random top 5 off the top of my head,
But Mordecai's a throwback, brother. That's talk about a missed
I also
opportunity.
liked his vampire gimmick.
Kevin
That's one.
Thorne.
Oh, was also something I enjoyed
Yeah.
that one as well.
But the whole Mordecai thing, if him and Taker could have had that match, I think it would have been off
What
the hook.
what could have been? I
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was at a very rough spot here in the States.
Yeah.
For professional wrestling. There wasn't an alternative.
Yeah.
You don't have an alternative, you get complacent. You get complacent, then you run into a ruthless aggression era. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
That's not shitting on I'm not shitting on anything. It's just that was an era that I did not really. I stopped watching for a little bit. It just,
Yeah. Me
at least
too.
the Goth. Do you have got another question that you want to ask? We'll get ready to start winding this one down and tying a bow on things. What do you got for Johnny? Oh shit! Hold
I
on.
just want.
I was supposed to tell you why I asked that question. Probably my bad.
Yeah.
ADD kicked in. ADHD. Sorry, guys. Well, if it's independent wrestling, that's how I keep my platform moving. I will go and look out for. I always ask guys, give me 4 or 5 people that you like, work with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When they give me indie names, I go out and I just start watching them and I start looking and I start doing other things with it. But with the professional list, I have other things for that too. When you get into like the names like that, I will, go back and visit down memory lane. And you can never go wrong with Dean Malenko. Come on now. You can never go wrong with Guerrero. Let's go. Let's fucking, yes, let's
Even
do that.
that name we cannot mention
Name we cannot
anymore.
mention. I still think is one of the greatest wrestlers, bell to bell.
100%.
I hate what, I can't control what happened. I can't control anything outside of the ring. I don't. Outside of the ring, I do not condone any of it. Inside the ring, I can draw a line of separation, and inside the ring, I find it very hard to believe for anyone to tell me that there wasn't another pound for pound in the time frame active that was better than.
100%.
I, that may lose fucking and get hate mail on it, and that's okay. I'll answer it too. Goth, go ahead. Get your question.
I just wanted to ask. What I saw about AWA when we did the Down the Rabbit Hole is I saw different eras where I grew up watching wrestling, mostly WWF, because back in the day, the only thing that came up in the Netherlands was WWF.
Yeah.
I saw like different eras of WWF / WWE because I saw like Mike Sanders was the first match that we saw. He defended his world title, and I believe he lost it during that match. I'm not sure against whom at that point. The former champ. But there was like also like a six person elimination match where they all got handcuffed. I believe that was the match he lost the title. That we saw an individual that brought me back to the 80s era, the ska boer.
Yeah.
Is that something that you all discuss, like what kind of character somebody's going to get, or is it something that everybody else has their input in what they want to be, or how does that go in
Well,
AWA?
that is a very good question. Generally, when we have someone come in to train and we see that they're committed and dedicated, um, I try and put my head to maybe what it is. It's one thing. Look, the our federation, we don't have any fantastical gimmicks. There's no like ghosts or monsters or whatever. We got the freak show,
Yeah,
and
we
the
love it.
biggest the biggest take the biggest take that I give the guys is that you have to be relatable. You got to be 100% relatable to the crowd. So there's no point in having a gimmick like a vampire because everyone knows vampires don't exist. Well, we hope they don't. So this big guy came in one day, and we sat him down, and we're like, okay, you've been. First of all, we train the guys for a year to a year and a half before they see the inside of a ring. Um, and if they make it past the year, then that half of the year we spend with gimmicks and kind of like getting the outfits and stuff. So we sat him down. We're like, well, what is it that you want to be, or what type of gimmick were you looking at? And then I said, look, I need to interject. My biggest thing is I think this guy looks like a farmer. And he says, yes, he likes the idea. And I said to him, I've got another idea. I think we're going to make this guy a sheep farmer. And
Yeah,
I've got the perfect little teddy bear that he comes out to with under his arm. And he bought a couple more and he gives it out to the kids. And it just took off. He is such a hot fan favorite. It's not even funny.
yeah,
So it worked. It's not a case of we have got gimmicks lined up where we need to fill them. Um, we only had one of those, and myself and one of the other seniors, Mad Jack Maverick. It's actually an ongoing joke where we were looking for someone to be a bodyguard just so that we could play the Baywatch theme. That is all. And my son stepped up and he said, "Look, I really don't mind." And he wants to do the whole Baywatch thing. So yeah, well, big ups to my kid. So
Uh,
Let's call Pamela Anderson.
uh, talk about a
not
throwback.
not the current family. We'll get the one from about 15 years back.
Uh,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to turn that dial back. Here, we got a DeLorean on hand, anybody? Because I don't know.
Yeah,
I truly appreciate everything that you guys have going on down there, and I'm ecstatic that we were able to stumble to the scene, number one, and be able to get you so quick to sit down with us and chat with us for a little bit, to kind of learn as we go here, with the scene in general. I am a firm believer that good things happen to good people, and from what I've
thank you
heard,
very much.
yep, what I've heard, you're one of the good people. So I want to give you the floor. If there's anything that you want to plug, if there's anything that you want to get out there about yourself, about the company, anything, the floor is yours. So you tell us, in the infamous words of Cody Rhodes, what do you want to talk about?
Um, Basically, our next show is on the 3rd of April, and we're going to live stream it. So, we'll send you guys the link. You guys can check that out.
Yes.
Awesome.
And second of all, I just want to say thank you to the two of you for the tireless effort of promoting and pushing the business where a lot of people might have given up on it, where a lot of people might look down on it, and where a lot of people might not understand it. And we are so force fed mainstream wrestling that people forget the indies and the behind the big scenes and smoke and cameras is actually the heart and the soul of the monster. And the two of you are doing an amazing job. And I think it's an amazing idea. And I really want to say thank you from myself and from AWA and all the boys here. We just would like to say a big collective thank you very, very much for having us and for getting our names out there. It's a thankless job. We all know that. Unless you are in the limelight and the mainstream media and whatever have you. So yeah, from my side, from myself, from Sean Kuhn, from AWA and all the boys, I would like to definitely say thank you very much to the Gothic, the one and only sexy Dutchman, and
Thank you.
yourself, Mr. Chris Page. Thank you very, very much for doing what you guys are doing. Not only for AWA, but for all the guys out there, man. All the guys trying to live their dream and reach that mountaintop. All the sacrifices that they do day in and day out. All our brothers and sisters that give up time with their family. That have got injuries that they can't get medical attention for. That they miss birthdays, they miss Christmases, they miss family members passing away that they couldn't be there for. I've only missed one match my whole 24 years of doing this, and that was when my mother passed away. So there you go.
Yeah, no,
Thank you to the two of you. Thank you to the two of you for everything that you guys are doing, really, and I mean that sincerely.
we firmly appreciate that. And when we get the thanks, I'm really kind of a humble guy, so I flip it and I say the reality is
I get
this:
it.
we don't get the opportunity or wouldn't have the opportunity to sit down and watch guys like you and watch you stumble into new companies if it wasn't for the talent that's out there, for guys like you who get into the ring and make it happen, for companies like the AWA for producing the content that features you guys. Like, this is again circle of life of wrestling, of independent wrestling. We all can't work without the other, and
100%.
I'm a firm believer that while there's a lot of tremendous things that's happening in the States, there's a lot of really great talent here in the States, and I could be focusing a lot of my time on the States. I think that everyone deserves equal time and equal viewing, if you will. And our platform has just been very good to us, to be able to come into so many different companies with so many different talents, to be able to say that I could probably sit down and put together an international card of independent talent and just introduce people to different people is enough. That's it. Like, one of our biggest
That would be amazing.
one
That
of
would be amazing.
one of my claims right now for the channel is we always ask, if you have dream matches, and I haven't gotten there yet, but it's definitely coming as the last question. One of the proudest moments so far. We were talking to a guy named Critchy in the UK. Uh, he's part of tag team Finally Tuned Machines. A hell of a singles guy, young, 22 maybe, very young guy.
24.
22, 24. But dream match with Grado. Grado is another international known cat that hadn't done a whole lot of wrestling over the last couple of years, but we were able to get him the match just by taking
What?
the clip of his
Yeah.
interview. I don't know Grado. I've never met Grado. I've seen Grado. I've seen his work. I tagged him and was just, if you have interest, listen to this. Grado started to follow me. We were able to hook them up. They are now booked over in the UK. They've got a match coming up,
Well,
and
in that case, like my dream match would be against Triple H. Just FYI, we're just throwing it out there. You might want to tag him, don't tag him.
I'll tag Trips, but he's got a heart
Ah,
condition. I don't know if he's gonna be too keen on answering the call, but I'll tag him. He'll probably say, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
I got tips for.
But
Hey, if I'm
ultimately,
gonna shoot my shot, I may as well shoot my shot, right?
yeah, you only get one, so I'll clip it. Fuck it, we'll see what happens. So if we take no, just take a look, man. Just there's a lot out there. There's so much happening, truly. And professional wrestling is just based on what we've seen and what I've been able to deduce all over the world. A lot of really young talents out there. A lot of really good talents out there. It tells me that we're gonna be fine.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to interrupt you there. It's like, I've come to realization the past 5 years uh, that my ship has definitely sailed. So I don't even have that want or that need or that urge to do anything outside of my federation. My want and my urge and my need is to get guys like Mike Zander and Romeo Valentino, Jay Cooper and Van of the Wolf Pretorius and whoever else, the takeovers and whatever. That is my dream and my goal is to get those guys where they deserve to be. Because they're a lot better than what I am. I can promise you that.
Let me tell you,
They're a lot better.
Valentino gives me Jacob Fatu vibes.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you
That's
that.
the other joke. Yeah, that's the other joke we got in the locker room there. So whenever we see him, yeah, what's up, Usyk?
Dude, he's so explosive and he's on my radar. I have a spotlight show that I'm looking at.
There
I
we
have a
go.
fucking spreadsheet. That's the whole thing. But his name is on that spreadsheet. It's just a way that I can circle back around. Like we find stuff that we like, and when we invest in it, I'm investing long term. So it may not be next month. It may be 3 months from now. You see a graphic go out, and we're spotlighting, Johnny. And it's a
No,
show that
please
we
don't.
or Solomon
Spotlight my
or
guys.
or
Spotlight the
whoever. And
guys.
I'm just saying whoever. Like, but it would be somebody that would be from the scene, and it's just a
Yeah,
way to
no,
kind
for
of
sure.
keep the names out there. Like that's
And it's amazing.
I
And
don't.
once again, thank you guys so very much for what you do and putting the time in. And this is once again, it's almost what we spent like half a Sunday trying to push the boundaries and connect and network and spread the pro wrestling love and promote pro wrestling. And we didn't have to, but here we are doing and talking about something that we love so very much. So like I said, once again, thank you very much for the two of you and for the platform that you guys have created. As much sacrifice that we do in the ring, you guys do outside of the ring. I mean, so it's a thankless job once again, but it's you want to call it the circle of life, call it the circle of life. I'm just saying thank you very much, and we're extremely thankful for the little bit of a spotlight that you put on us.
Oh, we're gonna burn it a little bit brighter, especially as the years go on, because we're just getting started,
Oh yeah.
brother. We're just getting
Here we
started.
go, man.
I truly appreciate your time. Time is definitely a valuable commodity. It's something that we only get so much of, and the fact that you sat down with us for an hour and a half today is tremendous. I greatly appreciate it. I know Goth does as well. Goth, would you like to say your goodbyes, sir?
I would like to say thank you all for being here. If you stuck with us throughout the whole entire interview, thank you. And like Paige said, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Um, look for many other down the rabbit holes inside the indies and all the other shows that we're going to push throughout the weeks, months, years. And thank you for all for enjoying wrestling. And let's hope to see you again soon.
Yes, absolutely. And if you have not done so, you've sat down, you've watched this interview, this Come On Call interview, you've watched the conversation. Right underneath him, right there. It's technically right there. It keeps it pretty simple on social media, all forms. It is Johnny, and I'm not gonna mispronounce your last name. I'm gonna spell it because I'm sure if I tried right now, I would mispronounce it. Palazzio. It's on X there. Just add the underscore over on Instagram. The easiest way that you can support independent wrestling is by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It costs you nothing. You may introduce new friends, your friends, like and share. You may be able to be that one person that puts this individual onto 5 or 6 other people. You never know, it can happen. And if you have not done so, go ahead and like our stuff too over on social media. I'm at Fireside Page, CCP underscore podcasting on Instagram, CCP podcasting on YouTube. Goth is Fireside underscore Goth, CCP underscore podcasting underscore Goth on Instagram, and of course CCP podcasting on YouTube. Sorry, that was a lot to get out in such a short amount of time. That is the sexiest man in the Netherlands. He is just a sexy Goth.
Sexy guy.
Mr. Johnny, I appreciate you, sir. And again, guys, we'll all see you next time.
Thank you very much.